Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you tonight to Yadkin County Farm Bureau's North Carolina Senate District 34 Candidates Forum. I think we've got a good crowd here tonight, and we really didn't know exactly how many to plan for. Of course, tonight's forum is nonpartisan, and we're pleased to have both Democrats and Republican candidates for the North Carolina Senate here with us tonight. Tonight's forum will focus on rural and agricultural issues, and we look forward to hearing the candidates' responses to these questions. Farm and rural issues are Yadkin County issues. As a rural county with only a handful of small towns, what affects the farmers in this county affects all the residents of this county. And let's not forget that agriculture is Yadkin County and North Carolina's largest industry in Yadkin County, in the state. In Yadkin County, agriculture contributes about $170 million to the local economy, employs 21% of the workforce, and accounts for 22% of the Yadkin County's GDP. At this time, please allow me to introduce the candidates that have joined us tonight. Mr. A.J. Dowd of East Bend, Bill Howell of Statesville, Benaiah McMiller of Statesville, Bob Ruccio of Mooresville, Vicki Sawyer of Mooresville, and William Stinson of Booneville. Tonight's questions are pre-selected and have been submitted to the candidates for their review and their preparation. The candidates received 9 potential questions. We will only be asking 6 of those questions tonight. We will not be taking any questions from the audience during the forum, and the Yadkin County Farm Bureau Women's Committee will provide light refreshments following the forum, and would like to invite everyone to stay afterwards for a time of fellowship and meet and greet with the candidates. The rules and the format for tonight's forum were also presented to the candidates for their review and approval, and without any objection, the candidates approved the format and the rules of tonight's forum. Rules and format, which I have not otherwise covered, are as follows. Candidates are seated in alphabetical order by their last name. This will also be the order for opening statements. Each candidate will be the first to answer a question and the last to answer a question, pending that time allows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. The timekeeper will show an orange card when the candidate has 30 seconds remaining. When the candidate is out of time, the timekeeper will show a red card. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer each question. The timekeeper will show an orange card when the candidate has 30 seconds remaining. When the candidate is out of time, the timekeeper will show a red card. Each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. The timekeeper will show a red card when the time has expired. Candidates have been allowed to bring notes with them to their seats and can make notes during the forum. I'm Justin Summers, President of Yadkin County Farm Bureau, and I will serve as moderator for tonight's forum. Shelby Shore is a member of the Yadkin County Farm Bureau Board of Directors, and Ms. Shore will serve as tonight's timekeeper. For members of the audience, we ask for your respect to all candidates, and please hold all applause to the end of the forum. While I take my seat next to Ms. Shore and prepare to start for this forum, please give the candidates a warm Yadkin County welcome.
All right, Mr. Dowd. They should be on.
Are they on? Okay. Good evening, everybody, my fellow Yadkin folks. My name is A.J. Dowd. I'm a business owner of your county, been paying taxes for over 10 years. And I just want to start off really quick. How many people in the audience work on farms, has a farm, agricultural employee? I want to say you guys are doing a tremendous job. In case you don't know, Yadkin County rates 34th in this state, top tier for agricultural production. Even though you all lost 4% of your farms over the last 10 years, you've increased your production and your revenue in your farms by 33%. And I can tell you that there's no other county that has had such an increase in ag business as Yadkin has. So I'm applauding you all for what you're doing. Let's give everybody out there an applause. Say thank you very much for the farmers. Hopefully here tonight we're going to go ahead and give you a little bit more about ourselves and what the other candidates stand for. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the next candidate to go ahead and introduce. God bless you, farmers.
My name is Bill Howell. I'm a father, grandfather. I've been married for 47 years to the same woman. All my children and grandchildren live in Iredell County, as I do. I served in the United States Air Force, I am a partially disabled veteran. I'm a 50-year member of the National Rifle Association. I'm a retired high school teacher and coach of 30 years. I'm retired from the Transportation Security Administration, where I was a behavior detection officer. I serve proudly on the Iredell Statesville School Board as District 2 representative. Tonight I want to say this, something that has to be said. Someone's trying to buy this election, ladies and gentlemen. There's no doubt about it. And I come to you as a rookie. I've never done this before, but I can tell you this. There's a lot of money being poured into this race. It's coming from Raleigh and large companies. Some of the people have put undue influence on different groups, and I just wanted you to know. So please elect Bill Howe with integrity. Please elect Bill Howe for tax reform. Please elect Bill Howe, who is truthful. Thank you very much.
Mr. McMillan.
Thank you so very much. I stand here tonight not as a Republican, not as a Democrat, not as an unaffiliated voter, but as an American and as a North Carolinian. Tonight is not about a forum, although that's why we're here. And it most certainly is not about a debate. But tonight has to be about a conversation between you and I. I'm a husband, I'm a father of 6 beautiful children, and with love for my family. My family depends on me, as your family depends on you to be focused on the future. Not only am I here tonight to have a conversation with you as a husband, but also as an American worker. My occupation is educator. I love what I do. I love to teach. I love seeing those light bulbs turn on, that aha moment when it happens. And just like you, in your occupation, you love what you do. Even as a farmer or as a stay-at-home mom, you are focused on the future. Tonight, it's a conversation, not just about being a father, a husband, or our occupation, but as citizens, that we love this great state of North Carolina. It is the best state of all 50 states. Tonight, it's a conversation about our values, what we love, how we see the future. And my hope is that you will see the future as I see it. It's bright, it's bold, it's vibrant. And tonight, through our conversation, my prayer is that we will get to the heart of the matter, and that is your heart in every matter that comes from the heart. So therefore, I'm asking for your vote on May the 8th, and in the future, going into November. Thank you so very much. God bless.
Mr. Riccio.
Thank you. My name is Bob Ruccio. I'm a candidate for the North Carolina Senate representing Yadkin and Iredell County. I'd like to thank the Farm Bureau for hosting this event, and hopefully today we'll have an opportunity to hear about qualifications and issues that each of these candidates support. My wife Teresa is in the audience tonight. We've been married on May 8th for 25 years. We have 2 sons, Robbie and Ross. I practiced dentistry for 35 years, and during that time I built the skill of problem solver. I earned a master's in business administration from the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. I owned a home in Mooresville for 9 years, relocated because of my job, and returned with Teresa Ruccio, my wife, and we're retiring in Iredell County. I served for 17 years in the North Carolina Senate. During that last 8 years, I was the finance chairman involved in tax reform, and I was part of the leadership team that has transformed North Carolina so that both economically and educationally, we are some of the leaders in the Southeast. Our state is now in the best financial condition it has been in decades. We have $1.8 billion in savings reserve for emergencies. We have $3 billion for the unemployment fund. We still have surpluses. I will say to you, we did all of that good work and have the economy going because of the tax reform that we put forward. And my goal to you is to be able to continue dropping the personal income tax rate below what it is at 5.25%, and hopefully at someday it'll be 0. Thank you very much.
Ms. Sawyer.
Hello, I am Vicki Sawyer. Man, I'm excited to be here because when you open your mailboxes, you see all of these blasphemous things coming from other people. But now is your time to get to meet me. Who am I? Well, first of all, I am a mother. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. I am a resident of Iredell County my entire adult life, born in Davidson County, went to Forsyth County Parkland High School, and graduated with honors from UNC Charlotte. After that, I've met the love of my life, my husband, Brett. We've been married since 1999, 98, I don't know, it's on my ring somewhere. And we've been married for a good long time. We started our own business in 2002 when I was 4 months pregnant, and we both had our pink slips because the person that we were working for decided to retire. So with a new baby, a new house, and a husband, we started Sawyer Insurance and Financial Services. And I'm very happy to say we've grown that so that we now service over 4,200 households in southern Iredell County. That same work, that same dedication that I've had my entire life is what I'm going to bring to you. It's what I'm going to bring to Iredell. It's what I'm going to bring to Yadkin. You guys know that I can be effective because you've seen it in my past, and I can't wait for you to be along the ride for our future. Thank you.
It's often been said that your home is where your heart is. Well, my heart, 30 years ago, my wife agreed to come to Yadkin County so that my heart could stay in Yadkin County. But my history in the Yadkin Valley runs a lot deeper than that. My early ancestors include the Hobsons and the Reeses and the Flemings and the Sugars. For the last 9 generations, my family has called North Carolina home. I have friends and relatives in each of the 100 counties of North Carolina. My children, 10 out of 13 of my nieces and nephews, and all 5 of my great nieces and nephews, all live and work and go to school in North Carolina. So my heart is deeply planted into the great state of North Carolina. I am running for the Senate because I want not only Yadkin and Iredell counties, but all of North Carolina to be the great place to live, to work, to raise a family, to go to school in, to visit, or vacation in. And at heart, I've always been a farmer. After being raised on a small tobacco farm and attending NC State, I was hired to work for the Yadkin Soil and Water Conservation District to help implement the 1985 Farm Bill. For the last 15 years, I've worked with Smith Farms. Most days, you'll find me on a tractor, a combine, or a chicken litter spreader truck. On Sunday morning, you'll find me at Boonville United Methodist Church. The 34th District is where my heart is and where my home is. And I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you, candidate, for those opening statements. We'll now get started with our questions. The first question, we'll start with Mr. Dowd. We'll get the answer first, and then we'll proceed down the line here. So the first question for tonight's forum that you'll have 90 seconds to respond to, and Ms. Shore will show the yellow card when you have 30 seconds remaining. The first question is, North Carolina's rural areas often lag behind the state's urban centers in terms of economic development and resources. What is your plan to help generate increased economic activity in this county and in its rural communities?
Thank you, Justin. It's a great question. When the tobacco buyouts occurred, and ag business in this state were trying to figure out a new course of direction, your county, Yadkin, became the force and the front runner for leading this state in change by going towards wineries, towards different kind of crops, when the rest of the state. Now, a lot of people don't know, I used to, in summer jobs growing up in Durham, I used to prime tobacco. I worked on farms. So consequently, Durham and a few other areas were still stuck on tobacco. You all were like the front runners when it came to something different and something new. One of the suggestions I had made, and I believe Yadkin products could be much further known nationwide through knowledge and information that we see all the time to promote your products, to promote your wineries. One of the suggestions I made is on I-77. When I saw the new red stop coming up, our 60-year-old rest area, dilapidated, I felt that there should be a tourist welcome center to drive everybody to Yadkin County to buy their products. Having said that, I believe through marketing and through various implements, more products can be sold here at Yadkin County that you all are producing, and God bless you. Thank you.
Same question.
Same question.
The wineries you have in this county are bringing in outside tourists. They help the county's economy. The tourists buy gasoline. They eat at your restaurants. This has great effects on your county's economy. There's a new thing, it's not really new, but agro-tourism has become popular. And this should be encouraged among you farmers. It's an activity where people that live in concrete and asphalt areas can come to a real working farm, and for a price, they can shuck corn, pick strawberries, drive a tractor. And these are things that you can do to increase your economy, and it keeps money in your county, and that's the important thing. Just briefly, Yadkin County's median income is $30,500. The state median income is $50,500. So if you want to increase the effectiveness of your county, then you've got to find ways to bring money back and keep money in this county. And you have a good start, I feel. But the question is, do you want to bring big business in here? Are you ready for that, or do you not want to? And that's something county commissioners can help you with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Mr. McMillan, same question.
Thank you so much. When I was getting ready to go off to college at 18 years old, my dad sits me down and he says, son, one day you're going to be a preacher. But I want you to know before you go off to college, take this one scripture with you. And that is, your gift will make room for you. As an 18-year-old, I'm like, okay, Dad, yeah, all right, whatever, I get it. It can make room for you. He says, no, write it down. It says, you have a skill, and your skill is bargaining. So when you go off to school, no matter when you get into a pinch, or if you might get into a pickle, you can turn to your God-given gift, and it will make room for you. Right here in Yadkin County in North Carolina, we have the best farmers, hands down, bar none. I would go to town and bet you against any other worker there is in the whole wide world. Your gift is farming. You know how to take something and put it in the ground, nourish it, fertilize it, pray over it, and watch God produce a crop for you. You understand seed time and harvest. So as a farmer, your gift is farming. Let's take that gift worldwide by investing in cattle stock, gene banks, and plant gene pools, and sell those genes to third world and underdeveloped countries to make your gift of farming work best for you and bring in a profit for you farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Mr. Riccio, same question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's very important to understand how we can generate extra businesses and jobs. And the state of North Carolina over the last 8 or 10 years has been very good at it. We've created about 525,000 new jobs since 2011. But how we did that? We need reg reform to help farmers maintain a competitive edge. That's going to be very important. What we also need to do is open up global markets to allow farm products to be sold across the globe. So the state's responsibility there would be to continue growing the seaport and the airports to allow for that. Of course, there's a lot of work being done at NC State in research to help products stay longer. Also, we need to have transportation infrastructure so we can go ahead and continue to be able to move goods and products across not just North Carolina, but the entire country. The economic tier system is a detriment, and what we hope to do there is to change it so we better reflect it by using census tracts. Also broadband, we want to bring that to the counties, and the state should be able to take an active role in that, in delivering broadband, which will help both individuals and small businesses, which I consider farming. So I think that would be some good steps forward to try to improve the economic status of Yadkin and Iredell County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riccio. Ms. Sawyer, any question?
You know, some of these questions you guys asked, they've already been answered because I sat and have listened to you. And one of the things that I hear loud and clear is broadband, so I started researching. You know, Kentucky has a really great idea for that. You know, Kentucky, they can't go through the mountains, they have to go around the mountains. Also, Tennessee's looking at this too, but what they do is their communities actually treat it like a service, like if it's going to be water or sewer. And they do get a broadband tower. And from that point, they kind of started, they try to spider out through the community. And they also have this thing called one dig. Really smart idea. So if you're putting in a road, you just put fiber in along with it. And eventually, everything will start to interconnect. But I hear broadband's a big issue for you guys. As a small business owner, regulations on us is very detrimental. I know large corporations are very proud to say that the General Assembly has worked to lower their regulations, but us small business folks, we get hit pretty hard, especially when it comes to building and standards. So someone who's on the Iredell County Planning Board, I see it happen all the time. Getting from A to Z through that building standards costs a lot of money, a lot of time. Some of us actually lose customers and lose business because we are having to conform to very outdated regulations. And last but not least, what we're sitting in here right now is workforce development. I'm a big supporter of technical trade schools. 4-year degree, I'm glad that I have one, but it's not for everybody. We need to get our kids skilled and ready to work in the workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Mr. Stinson, same question.
One of the prime areas that we have trailed in economic development is that in the budget reforms, we've been hurt by inadequate funding for our education system. We've lost a lot of teaching positions and a lot of teacher aide positions. So these teachers, they have to have houses, they have to have cars. All this stuff generates economic activity. But if we're not getting funded from the state for these teaching and teaching aid positions, then we've lost out on a lot of economic activity. And a lot of the 525,000 jobs that have been produced in North Carolina have been produced in the urban areas. And of course, the urban areas are much richer, incomes are higher, and so when they did the tax reform, it adversely affected the rural communities because the taxes reform favored the higher income earners and left the lower income earners basically with tax increases instead of tax decreases.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Next question, we'll go to Mr. Howell first, then we'll continue down the line, finishing up with Mr. Dale. Second question is, how do you plan to help ensure that county government is properly funded while at the same time preserving the present use value program?
I had a couple of ideas. Commissioners can offer tax incentives to anyone who redevelops or improves commercial property, thus increasing your tax base. Promote locally grown crops to restaurants and supermarkets. This may already be done, I don't know. So money will remain in the county. Anytime you can keep money in your county, that's the way to help. It may be financially feasible to invite business to settle in your county, thus increasing the tax base. It is important to improve rural roads. Our roads are inadequate, particularly in this part of North Carolina, our county roads. We need to widen, increase, pave, because this would help a farmer go from one field to another if we had better roads. For a long time, Western North Carolina has suffered in this area. It seems like Eastern North Carolina, if you've ever traveled to the Outer Banks, you know the roads are beautiful, the bridges are beautiful, and there's no people. So this is something that I would work on, because I think that we, in this part of the country have been forgotten when it comes to road building. And certainly, we have to look at, improve the quality of water that you have. I talked with someone in your county and there's not a major source of water. Now, I could be wrong. I could have got the wrong information. But you need a better source of water. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howe. Mr. Miller, same question.
So the question is, how do you preserve present use value? The first thing you must do is you must emphasize to our county leaders that, especially at the state level, that Raleigh should not pass down any unfunded mandates. After that, the second thing you must do, you must emphasize, educate, and reteach, and let everyone know what the present use value is, what it means, and what it does. After we tell them what it is and what it does, and that it's not about future use, but it's about what's happening right here and right now. So we must be able to educate, reteach, and be at the forefront of change so that way our future leaders, our current leaders understand how they have a direct impact on our farmers. And that if they want to raise more capital for our schools, they should stop with the wasteful spending and put their money in the right places for our children and for our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Ruccio, next question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I think it's quite evident that what we put in place in regard to economic growth and job creation has turned out to be a windfall for the counties because they, year over year, because of the continued growth, we've had increase in sales tax revenues that come from the state directly to the counties and again shared by the local governments. As long as we keep growing our economy, we will continue to provide that money. Secondly, it's important to develop infrastructure so that a county can become self-sufficient. We need to have the infrastructure like a pad ready for a business coming into these counties so that all of a sudden when someone is looking at it, they can say, well, we're ready to move into that location. Thirdly, I think it's important to establish, and I've already talked with a number of my friends in Raleigh in the Senate, an additional JDIG system, that is an incentive system that actually provides money to businesses that locate in certain counties. Right now, the JDIG system is taken pretty much by all of the larger counties. I've talked with Senator Brown, Senator Raven, and in discussing with them, there is a system, we're going to provide an additional fund strictly to be used for rural counties so that that money won't be usurped by the large counties, but will be used exclusively here to create jobs. The best way to develop economic growth is internally, and that way there I think there's a good opportunity for Yadkin, Iredell, and the other rural parts of the state to continue to grow, prosper, and get their people back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruccio. Ms. Sawyer, same question.
Well, the best government is that government that's closest to the people. So I think county governments are pretty darn smart about how they budget and how they take care of the present use value program and protect that for our farmers. You know, I will say that unfunded mandates put a huge strain on us, especially our education and our county commissioners this past year. When that K-3 classroom size reduction bill, which is an amazing thing, I understand why, when that was passed, I saw the fear in both of our superintendents' eyes in Iredell County and the amount of strain that it was going to take on our county commission. Forgive me for not remembering the numbers, but it was millions and millions and millions of dollars just in infrastructure, just to build a classroom. Not to mention, we have a depletion in our workforce for teachers. Where are you going to find all those teachers? So not only are you mandating us to build new schools with no extra lobbying money, you're also going to make us have teachers that have a 4-year degree when public education has to have someone that is certified. They can't go out like charter schools, which I do understand is a great value for charter schools, but they don't have that freedom and ability to just put teachers out of anywhere. So county governments are great. They know how to manage things, but Raleigh needs to reach out to our counties and talk to them before they issue unfunded mandates on us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Mr. Stinson.
The present value use program is very important to keep North Carolina agriculture competitive on the world market. We have to compete against rich farmland in Illinois and Iowa. We have to compete against tobacco farmers in Brazil that have low labor costs. So we have to maintain the present use value to keep our property taxes low, because most of the families that own farmland that are not farming, really the only thing the rent pays for their taxes. And so if the farmland were to be taxed at a higher rate, then either our rents would have to go up or the farmland would have to be sold. So we need to maintain this present use value system. And if Raleigh will fund education as it should be funded, it won't be a problem for rural counties. But since they have these unfunded mandates and try to tell the local districts where to put the teachers and what to do with them, then it leaves a very much shortfall for the county government.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Mr. Dale, same question.
Thank you, Justin. I just want to say that I personally feel we're getting off topic here. I think the big problem is that we're collecting taxes in this county, we're paying taxes in this county. I see several of our Yadkin County commissioners here. And the problem is that we can't get things done from Raleigh. I drive every day over the bridge over the Yadkin River, 67. There's more potholes in it than a teenager with acne. It took 10 years to get a traffic light in East Bend. The problem we have is we have to get our tax dollars to stay here and be used to help. Our sheriff who just walked in, I mean, I went to their commission meetings. They're talking about having trouble replacing police cars, sheriff's cars, that are 10 and 15 years old. That's the problem we have here. You have people here talking about education. Well, last week in Burke County, Governor McCord came out publicly, my wife Angie could tell you, and said A.J. Dow was the only one that was on the lottery commission that was a fiscal conservative. My belief for education is, you're going to spend $1, let's go ahead and reduce expenses like we all do in our farms and businesses, like we all do to make our businesses successful. Nobody's talked about reducing expenses. Everyone keeps talking about distribution of funds. Everybody keeps talking about what we need to do. What we need to do is make sure Yadkin County gets their fair share from Raleigh, and it is not.
Thank you, Mr. Dow. Next question will go to Mr. McMiller first. Healthcare costs are a serious problem for all North Carolinians, but especially for those who live in the state's rural communities. How can state and local governments help those people access quality health care at an affordable cost?
When we look at healthcare, healthcare is indeed a problem. And the reason why it is a problem is because we have so many insurance executives taking home $1 million bonuses at the end of every year. Well, the question is, how did they get to that point where they can take home that much money? Last year, Blue Cross Blue Shield took in $110 million in bonuses. So then ask yourself, how did they get there? They got there by denying our claims, by denying our coverage, by saying no to prescription drugs that we need to have. And so the only way to absolutely provide adequate resources for our rural communities, facilities, medical practitioners, we need to be able to expand the Affordable Care Act here in North Carolina. Right now, don't be fooled. The Obamacare is not real. There is no law in the books in America called Obamacare. You can't repeal it, you can't replace it. What the Affordable Care Act does expand Medicaid into rural areas. And so if you're a farmer working in your field, do you really want to wait for an ambulance to come 15 miles to your home to get you, take care of you, and then drive you 15 miles back to a medical facility? That's 30 miles. You could be dead by the time you get there. Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundant. If anybody tells you that they want to take away the Affordable Care Act, that you don't have insurance, or repeal and replace Obamacare, then they are telling you an absolute lie. They don't deserve your vote, and they've already missed your trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMiller. Mr. Riccio.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'm going to start off and tell you completely, Washington failed us in not repealing Obamacare, very clearly, because all we've got now is a spiraling system, a healthcare system that is less than great. We have huge premium costs, we have co-payments, we have deductibles that are so high that working families can't even afford it. It's almost like not having health care. So it's very important for us to actually repeal Obamacare, move on to health savings accounts, allow us to go ahead and use be able to purchase insurance across state lines, which will have competition and allow us to control it. But an interesting idea, I spoke with the Farm Bureau. I know in the Dental Society, when I was a member there, all the dentists, their families, and the employees joined a group in the Dental Society that had a large group. There's no reason why Farm Bureau couldn't go forward, put together a group of farmers, families, and then be able to buy health insurance in a block. But surely not under Obamacare, because it's not going to be able to sustain itself. It is spiraling into bankruptcy. I think it's also important to find a way, and we're working with the different larger hospitals as they move in and they merge, and that's just the nature of what's happening, but to preserve healthcare in rural communities, to make sure that people don't have to travel 70, 80, 90 miles for healthcare. I think that's something the General Assembly is going to take seriously, and I look forward to being part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brugere. Ms. Sawyer, same question.
Well, I have a quick answer to that. I don't think I'd be on the stage. I think I'd be in Washington and whatnot. No, personally, my husband and I pay about $1,300 a month with a $10,000 deductible, and it hurts. It's a lot of money each month. Especially out here, I sat with Iredell Health and the CEO of that. They're a nonprofit health group in Iredell County, and they have 1% profit. That's their goal. All they want to make is 1% profit out of their health group. It is unfortunate that we do have large conglomerate healthcare companies that are buying and growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And when they look at rural healthcare, they don't look at an office like at the Cooley where they shut it down. They don't look at that as if, that's good quality healthcare provided to those citizens. What they look at it is dollars and cents. And if it's 60 or 70% Medicaid patients, it's out. So where do you start that? Well, corporate greed is a little tough on that, especially when you're talking about people's lives. So I am all for the nonprofit systems just like Iredell Health. I think it's a valuable service, and I would work hard in Raleigh to make sure that we preserve those types of healthcare systems.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Mr. Stinson?
Thank you. Since my employer doesn't provide insurance, I have to buy Affordable Care Act insurance through my insurance agent. And I've got a pretty good policy. I pay the first $13,300 and the insurance pays the rest. And I would like some more options. And I think one option that would work is allowing people to purchase into Medicaid. You pay a premium based on your income as competition to the insurance companies. Just like when Duke Energy wouldn't run electrical lines out into the county, REA was established to compete with Duke Power. And so when the REA would get ready to run a line to your house, and Duke Power would come and say, well, I'll run a line to your house. So we've got to have more competition. And it's going to have to be from a government, a pseudo-government agency like Medicaid, or maybe a cooperative, just like we did with REA or like Yadkin. They're cooperatives, they compete in the marketplace and provide a valuable service. And I think we could do the same thing with health insurance.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Mr. Dale?
Justin, thank you. I just want to mention that all of you all here are small business owners like myself. Every day I go to look at my employees and I feel very sad because 10 years ago, my company provided health care. We paid for it for all of our employees. Now we can't afford it. Last year, my personal health care bill went up to $40,000 because my daughter's got diabetes. And we had, like everybody else, go with a high deductible. Part of the problem we heard earlier, Congress had no guts to repeal Obamacare. But I must tell you that part of the problem is in this state, in Raleigh. Because Raleigh has done nothing to open up the market, the free market, to competition for other healthcare companies. You realize there's only 2 healthcare companies permitted to operate or sell in North Carolina? When my daughter went out of state and went to another state for college, she looked, there was over 100 companies in that healthcare book for her to purchase at a rate that was 70% less than North Carolina's healthcare. The problem we have here is, 1, it has not been opened up for free market. 2, the rate of fraud in healthcare is astronomical. $80 billion nationwide a year. Mike Causey, a friend of mine, our insurance commissioner, has just recently asked for 20 investigators, but again, the G hasn't given them enough to reduce the fraud, to reduce your premiums. Something to think about.
Thank you, Mr. Dow. Mr. Howe, thank you.
You know, President Obama put a lot of regulations in place that killed a program that was working years ago. The program was self-insurance. Now we had companies like Farm Bureau could get a group in this county, or maybe 2 counties, together and offer health insurance to you at a reduced cost. And they're exactly right. North Carolina has protected Blue Cross Blue Shield ever since I can remember. If you've ever been down to Raleigh and seen their building, you know what I'm talking about. But we have to create competition. President Trump is working hard to do away with some of these regulations, so a small insurance company, relatively small insurance company like Farm Bureau can come in and offer you health insurance. And you won't have to pay those exorbitant prices. But I agree, competition is the key, and we need to bring companies, allow companies, and quit these, I want to say that, we need to stop one company from getting all the contracts. We have huge number of state employees, and they provide Blue Cross Blue Shield for those employees. Why don't we deal with that, see who will give us a better price? North Carolina's yet to do that. I hope we can one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howe. The next question will go to Mr. Ruccio first. We'll go through the line and end up with Mr. McMillan. The next question is, people are often surprised to learn that agriculture is the #1 industry in North Carolina and Yadkin County. What role do you see the industry playing in the future of this region?
Yes, North Carolina is blessed to have agriculture as its #1 industry. It's about $83 billion. I've spoken with Commissioner Troxler on a number of occasions and had the opportunity to talk with him about his goal is to grow it to $100 billion. Some of it comes from what I mentioned earlier, opening up global markets to be able to expand. A lot of it deals with regulatory reform to control the cost of the production of goods that are sold as farm products. I think it's also important as far as regulatory reform. I've spoken with a number of farmers, and especially the dairy farmers. My recollection was that at one point there was 1,079 of them, and I think it's close to 179 today. They're under a lot of distress. One of the issues that I've already started discussion with is, one, finding a way to reduce those regulation reforms. That's important. North Carolina, since the Republicans took over, dropped from 25,000 to 20,000, and it's on its way down by the Rule Review Commission. That is mandated by the General Assembly to do that. Also, we're making sure that every single regulation actually achieves its intended goal, and that may be public safety or employee safety, but shouldn't be a burden to cost products to be there. I know in the dairy industry, they have a problem with the animal waste, which was originally designed to handle the pork problem in the East. Unfortunately, that's a problem and something that I'll find a solution to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruccio. Ms. Saunders?
Well, I hope that agriculture continues to be the #1 industry in North Carolina. I really do, since I am a native North Carolinian. Many of my folks and friends are farmers, and I'm appreciative and actually love their work. But there's something that we do need to look at, and some other states are doing some great things like Tennessee, and it's really to advertise your local growers. And I know that sounds like a very simple answer to a complex problem, but you see in the area where I live, these moms eat that up. In fact, they'll pay double or triple the price just because they're organic milk when we all really know there's no difference between the organic and the real stuff. So what I'm telling you is that if we were to advertise our local farmers, then that would be a brilliant idea. We have to compete. Now, yes, we have regulations that are unfair to farmers, especially when you have to compete in a global economy. We also have some things like transportation that's unfair to us guys, especially in Iredell and Yadkin County. I-77 is a major corridor going from major ports down at the coast in Charleston, Savannah. And we need to be able to move your goods down there and up there. But we can't because we're going to have a bottleneck called 77. And even if you wanted to do it, you're going to pay dearly to do it because you will never have an expansion of that road. The toll roads are only going to be for commuter traffic from point A to point B. It's not going to help move your goods across the state lines. So guys, we need to have common sense solutions in Raleigh, and that's what I will present for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Mr. Stinson.
I see great opportunities for agriculture in this region and across the state. One of the areas which we could expand into is the farm to table program. We need to get local products in home to people's tables locally. Small beef cattle operations, small vegetable operations. This is a place that you can compete with the big guys. Now, I work on a large grain farm and we have a lot of tobacco and stuff like that. And it's very capital intensive. But I worry about the young farmer that's just starting out. How is he going to compete? But I believe that the small local farm to table program will be a great starting point for many of our young farmers. But I see great promise in our agriculture. We can compete on a global scale, but we have to have the opportunity to do so. So like Vicki said, transportation is a very serious thing, especially if it's going through Charlotte. But I do see great promise, and I think there's a great future across the whole state for agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Now, same question.
Justin, thank you very much. Not to say anything, but there are programs currently where counties are getting notification of their local products to the food store. Let's not all forget Lowe's, locally owned company, North Carolina, promotes very big the use of local farmers for their products. Around the state, as Angie and I travel, we see a lot of counties promoting their own farmer markets to promote their local products, not only to those local people, but those people traveling. I feel that these are stock answers. I feel for you as a farmer, you as a business person, we must look further into things that I mentioned earlier. Why is it that when we see a California commercial, you see their wineries, you see their farms being promoted? As Mr. Howell mentioned earlier, visitors for their ag businesses. You see North Carolina's commercials around the country, you don't see them even promoting our wineries, and you all are the leaders for it. As I mentioned earlier, why not have a welcome center for wineries and sell Yadkin products at that welcome station? There's many programs aside of what's going on. The bottom line is, Raleigh's got to help you all promote your products, and it's not happening now.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. Mr. Howell, same question.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the next 50 years, it is predicted that the world population will increase by 1 billion people. Now, that's a lot. People are going to need to eat. And so, the farmland that's in Yadkin County is going to be a premium because you have a lot of open space. So therefore, it could be cultivated if necessary. If you elect me as your senator, I will continue your tax exempt status when you buy mules and horses, farm equipment, farm products. I will make sure you still have those. I will help the independent farmer. We have to encourage young people to get involved in the industry, because I think the average age in Iredell County for a farmer is 57 years old. So we need to do that. We have an agricultural early college at North Iredell High School, and hopefully that will help produce more farmers. I feel like this is something that Yadkin County needs to get involved in as well. Independent farmers are the backbone of this country, and we need to protect them any way we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Mr. Miller?
Is agriculture the future of our region? Absolutely. I get a front row seat to the future and our young people each and every day. I teach at Mitchell Community College's Ag Center in North Iredell, and when I see those kids, I see the future of farming. They taught me much about farming that I didn't even know my own self. But the future is in our children. We must be able to continue with the investments that will help the future farmers of America absolutely be those future farmers of America. The Golden Leaf Foundation is one of our partners who invest in our children, and our counties need to be able to invest in our kids as well. So is the future of farming safe? Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Next question. We'll go to Ms. Sawyer first, and we'll finish up with Mr. Ruccio. As the legislature continues to reform our state's tax code, what is your position regarding the sales tax exemption for farmers?
Well, that's an easy one. You guys are just a business. I mean, I operate a small business. I understand when I get taxed and certain things that I do, but you know, farming is much more than just a business, as someone has said. To me, it is a way of life, and it's a commodity that should be protected. So any way we can work to protect that, to help you, to move forward, to help feeding us, then I think that's a big deal. So looking to make money on the back of farmers is something I will never be interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Mr. Stinson?
You know, as a farm, we produce products, just like a factory produces product. You know, and a factory doesn't pay sales tax on the things that they are buying bulk to produce products that are then later sold. So the tax exemption for farmers is just like for manufacturing. There's no difference. And we shouldn't change the tax code to tax things that are going into production agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Mr. Dow?
Justin, thank you very much. I had wrote earlier for the response, as in my business, tax exemption on your wholesale purchasing of products is essential for the survival of small business, as it is essential for your farmers to survive. Now, I personally think that when government gets too greedy and they start taxing you on a wholesale level, and you start getting taxed on a retail level, is that against our Constitution called double taxation? Think about it. That's where we have to come in and say, something's wrong with our government. We need to go ahead and look at reducing expenses. I believe, and believe it or not, being in the funeral business, being a former law enforcement officer, I'm licensed in 4 states. North Carolina is one of the very few states that charges sales tax on funerals. Think about that. It's disgusting. I want to go back real quickly to the previous question. So the answer is no. I will be loud against any kind of taxation that we're talking that would hurt the businesses of the farm owners. If anybody looked at, and I know you all get it, your Farm Bureau magazine, there is an excellent article in here from a Wilkes County farmer, and he's actually part of it is in Yadkin, about a beef cattle farmer, a young couple that is getting into farming and what they have to do. So they are committed, but there are younger people who are starting fresh in the ag business because they believe in it, and you all are part of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dow? Mr. Hale?
Yes, we must continue our tax reform. We must continue to protect our independent farmers. We're not doing a good job yet. Walmart has come in and they have their own milk production. They raise them, they feed them, they grow them, they milk them, they transport, they package. This is something that is a trend in our country today. Large corporations are taking over large tracts of land, and the independent farmer is getting pushed out. We must, as a state and a county, protect our independent farmers. And the only way we can do it is continue our tax exempt status in these areas. That's the only way we can do it. So I would, if elected, maintain your tax exempt status as a farmer, and I would protect you. And I hope that your county commissioners are looking at their zoning laws to make sure that people don't encroach on farmlands to take them away from the independent farmer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Mr. Bill?
Farmers absolutely depend on this exemption. And right now, the qualifying threshold is $10,000. What we have to do is lower the qualifying threshold from $10,000 to $5,000. So that way more growers can opt into this tax exemption. In doing that, we will absolutely protect our farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Mr. Rucho?
Thank you. We're talking about tax reform. I was the finance chair at the time of tax reform. We went from trying to change a system that was formulated in the 1930 Depression time to a 21st century economy. We tried to make it simple, fair, and clearly. And one of the key caveats of that entire is you do not tax a business to business, that's called B2B transaction. And the purpose for that is to make sure that, one, there's not a cascading. What that means is every time you do a business to business tax, it means the product is more expensive to the consumer, and therefore the farmers are not going to be competitive. So that won't change. But what we are trying to do is find a system that will actually put more money in the pockets of working families. And I know Mr. Stinson mentioned earlier, but the fact of the matter is we lowered the tax rate from 7.75 to 5.25 next year. We actually raised the standard deduction. What that means is the first $20,000 next year will be totally tax-free in your income. We also lowered the sales tax by 1 full percent. It went from 6 to 5. So very simply, that tax reform was an important part. If elected, I will go back and continue. That's why I want to go back, because it requires leadership and actually perseverance, because it is not an easy lift, but it can be done. We made historic tax changes now, and I'd like to continue. And that means the people of North Carolina will enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rucho. The final question that I have tonight will go to Mr. Stinson first. As a growing state, North Carolina faces challenges in identifying resources to build and maintain transportation infrastructure. How should the state continue to maintain and upgrade our secondary road system that supports Yadkin County agriculture?
Many of these roads that we work on now are called Scott roads. They were built during the Scott administration and paved because the people of North Carolina invested in transportation. And what we need to do is continue our investment, just like our forefathers invested in us. We need to invest in education. There have been many cuts to the teaching positions, and so we're suffering in the education field. And another area that I'd like to talk about is that in Yadkin County, we depend upon our well water, our groundwater for our lives. We have, most all of us have houses that are on wells and such, but that's under threat. Part of Yadkin County is in a Triassic basin, and that Triassic basin would be open to fracking by the oil company. Bob Rucho sponsored a bill that would allow a fracking company to come into Yadkin County and contaminate our water, and our commissioners couldn't stop it. Our residents, if every resident in Yadkin County was against it, Bob Rucho's bill would allow them to come in, and we couldn't stop it.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Mr. Day.
I'm just going to break from a second because I know we've been a long time. I just read this article and they just left. The young couple that was in this article were sitting in the back, Justin and Lindsay. I guess they just left 2 seconds ago, so I'm going to give them a hand. Let me get back on track. Our current tax system is unfair to Yadkin County. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Distribution of this county is weak compared to other areas. And all I can tell you is I used to do law enforcement, sheriff is here. Let me present the evidence to you. As I said earlier, we're dealing with potholes, we can't get roads or bridges replaced that are falling down. Yet, Greensboro just opened up a bypass interstate that the news and record are saying, lucky if there's 1,000 people a day using it. Chapel Hill, Charlotte, just paid millions of dollars for a trolley light rail system. The money that should be going to at least keep our businesses going and our industries going and our farms and just a normal way of living in this county is being sucked up by these special food projects in Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham. What do we need a light rail for? We need bridges and roads here in Yadkin now. And I will be loud and fight for you on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howell.
Well, as I said earlier, the western part of North Carolina is southern. The eastern part of North Carolina, for the last 50 years, has had, it seemed, the lion's share of the money. Mr. Dow just mentioned about Greensboro. It's unbelievable. You go to Greensboro on 40 and all of a sudden there's 12 lanes. It's unbelievable. And what do we have? Down in Iredell County, we got I-77 and a toll road. Nobody will take the blame for signing a contract with a foreign company. Nobody will take that blame. Now, if you talk about what we should be doing, is you've got to have a senator that will go to Raleigh and make a deal. Because that's what the eastern senators do. They get together in a block and they vote. Raleigh is getting throughway from Raleigh to I-95. If they hadn't started building, I saw a sign that said they were going to build. So those are things that you've got to have somebody go down to Raleigh and say, hey, let's make a deal. Let's get some roads in Iredell and Yadkin County. Let's do what those people deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Mr. Miller?
We most definitely have to help our farmers easily move and effectively move product from the farm to the market. If that means investing in widening roads, that means in building new roads, and that's what we have to do. It's totally help our farmers be able to move product from farm to market. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Rucho?
The issue of roads in the eastern part of the state was absolutely true. And the problem was the old system pretty much said if you were powerful enough, like Mark Bass Knight and Jim Hunt, you could get roads put anywhere you want to. Well, the General Assembly, with Republican control, eliminated the politics by establishing what they call the SBI system. And it's based on the fact that if your road meets the needs of economics, congestion, pollution, and all of the real important parts of it, then clearly that money, you'll reach a higher level on that. The second thing the General Assembly did is there was about $225 million transferred from the Highway Trust Fund to the general fund of the budget, which is totally wrong. The trust fund should be sacrosanct. It took a number of years to get it done because it wasn't politically advantageous to some, but we actually stopped that $225. We went ahead and we actually created $2 billion in new money. Pay as you go. We don't even have interest payments on it, but it's pay as you go for road projects to allow us to build the roads and with the infrastructure. There is one problem though. The fact that we have gasoline taxes we're trying to keep low, but more importantly, we're not getting the same money generated from vehicles and gasoline. We need to find a solution to that. That's not an easy one, but we're trying to work on that as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rucho. Ms. Sawyer?
I will say, one of my favorite things the General Assembly has done is that strategic transportation improvements initiative. That was nice to try to take politics out of it. Haven't really seen all the benefits of that yet, but I'm sure it's coming down. But I don't know that this is actually true, but I'm telling you, it feels like one of the most corrupt things we have in North Carolina is the DOT. I don't know where money goes, how it's spent, but I'm telling you, that's the biggest complaint I hear. You know, for my employees, I have certain standards that I ask for them to do, and I take $1 and I stretch it as hard as I can. But yet, when you're going by and sometimes you see those DOT fellas, it doesn't look like they're trying to stretch our dollars. Now, I do not like those toll lanes. I do not like them. I do not like them. But I'll tell you one thing it did teach me, how fast a private company can build a road. You know, if you go down I-77, you're like, wow, that wasn't there last week, and here it is. It's like a, you know, beautiful black ribbon of road. So guys, yes, I'm glad that we have redone and restructured our funding, and I do have faith in that system. However, just like any strong-nosed or strong-willed business person, we need to look at the DOT and make sure that they're taking our dollars and spending them correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. We are actually ahead of schedule. If y'all would allow me, we've had several comments made about regulation. Y'all were provided with a question on regulatory reform, and if y'all would allow me, I'd like to ask that question and hear your response on that question. So the question is the General Assembly has done a lot in recent years to reduce government regulation on farmers and small business owners. Is this work complete, or is there more that can be done to lower regulatory burdens? If there's more that can be done, what regulatory relief do you propose? And we'll start with Mr. Stinson and go backwards, because this one was off the program.
At our farm, a lot of the regulatory stuff falls in my lap. I have to deal with the state regulations, not so much the federal regulations. Somebody else looks after the labor and stuff. But one of the areas that really hurts the tobacco farmers right now is the regulations that the companies are putting on us for the Good Agricultural Practices certification. And I see a little bit of it. They're multinational companies, both Philip Morris and what used to be Reynolds. They're now owned by international conglomerates, and they have to meet certain industrial standards. And so we have to implement these standards to make sure that our labor is properly paid, that they can protected against any kind of hazards. And so, but it involves a lot of paperwork. And so we really need to provide an avenue to help our small farmers meet with these regulatory requirements that are actually industry requirements. We may have to find a way for extension to help provide some of these benefits, because we're going to have to pay over $1,000 this year just to be GAP certified.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Ms. Sawyer?
Thank you. Well, I am not a fan of regulations either. I got a quick story for you. My husband and I just rehabbed 2 office buildings in Iredell County. One of them, I'm an insurance agent. One of them is built on a crawl space. We are a paperless office, meaning that we do not have any filing cabinets to hold client files. It's all in the file. But because I'm classified as an insurance agency, the county, because they said the state made them, made me hire an structural engineer, put 26 columns underneath my crawl space, and then I had to have it tested to make sure that it would hold my filing cabinets in my paperless office. I lost my contractor. It cost me about $15,000, and it took me another 4 months before I could open my office. Now, I'm sorry, I don't know all the regulations in farming, but I know what we all face, and we have a common theme. There are regulations that hurt us small business owners, and I absolutely have been on the front lines of that, and I will do everything I can to get those out of our way so that we can be profitable in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richard.
Regulatory reform was one part of what the General Assembly was on as we were trying to restore North Carolina to being a competitive business climate and creating jobs along with economic growth. We followed the plan of a better North Carolina, make sure the budget's right and no deficits, make sure we had an educated workforce, make sure we had transportation needs to move people and goods across the globe. We did tax reform to help stimulate an economy, and it's been tremendously successful. We did energy so that we could keep the price of energy low for our businesses to be competitive. And the last and every bit as important is regulatory reform. I already told you that we've already introduced or has changed from 25,000 regulations to 20, and it continues to go down as Rules Review Commission goes through every one of those regulations with a cost-benefit analysis. And any new ones have to reach a certain strict cost-benefit analysis to even be considered. Regulatory reform is critical for one reason. It actually keeps the cost of doing business and operating farms and any small business. And that is critical for any business to survive. And this General Assembly has been right at the forefront of regulatory reform and will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. No government official, no government agency ever sets out to say, I'm going to institute regulations in order to kill the industry. That is totally absurd. It's not true. When Theodore Roosevelt was president, he had to institute regulatory reform on the coal industry because they were taking advantage of people. When any business or industry takes advantage of you, it is our government's obligation to step in and regulate that business or that industry to make sure that we are not being taken advantage of. Now, do I agree with all reform? No. Is every reform good? No. Is every reform bad? No. What we need is common sense regulation. And when we do that, we can most definitely ensure that our food and safety will be able to remain intact. As of right now, the Food and Safety Modernization Act is the #1 thing that is threatening to push all our smaller growers out of the market. So, do I agree with all reform? No. Do we need common sense reform? We sure do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Powell.
Ladies and gentlemen, I found out some really disturbing things. As a school board member, I was sent to Raleigh to a seminar. And we had a group of consultants come down and speak to the group. There was about 130 school board members from across the state as well as superintendents. And these consultants were telling us the trends in education. And they were so far off that I finally stood up and said, wait a minute. You're hurting us more than you're helping us. Well, I found out that these guys are the same ones that was reporting to our legislature. So no, I don't believe in more reforms. I think we ought to get less. But the problem I see is that our legislature is getting poor information. And they won't listen to the people that really know. And that's the problem. NCAA went to them and different teachers went to them. The North Carolina School Board Association went to the legislature. They don't listen to us. They want to hire somebody and listen to them. And I guarantee you it's the same thing when it comes to regulations. You need someone down there that will listen to you. Always. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Mr. Powell.
Justin, thank you very much. I think we all could agree that that regulations hurt small business, small farms. Just about hurts anything to develop with growth. I'm reminded of the fact that a good friend of mine, Dale Falwell, who's now the treasurer of our state, used to go around when he was in charge of the Workman's Comp Fund, and he used to show everybody North Carolina's regulation book was this big. In that space, you could put Virginia, Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida's regulation book in the space that we have for Workman's Comp. I believe strongly that a good path has been started by the General Assembly when it comes to reviewing and going for these regulations. But sadly enough, I think it has become a non-issue. And because it's become a non-issue, it's shelved on committee somewhere. I believe as your state senator, I will go up there and do what our president has done and mandate and institute a law that says for every one new regulation, there's got to be 2 removed. It's working pretty well for our president at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. At this time, we will turn it over to the candidates to make a 1-minute closing statement. As previously said, Ms. Shore will only show the red card when your time is expired. You have 1 minute for a closing statement. Mr. Dow, we'll begin with you.
Oh, I get to go first. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be here. It's great to be among friends. I want to tell you that this is a very tough decision that you're going to make. You in your minds and your hearts have to feel who is going to be the loudest, who's going to be the best to represent you, the taxpayers, the citizens, and the voters of Yadkin County. I'm in your shoes. I must tell you that the way I envision a proper senator to go, particularly to represent our farmers, are this. Ray Starling, who used to be the chief of staff of Tom Tillis, just got appointed as White House liaison for the Agricultural Department by President Trump. Steve Troxler has openly supported me. I see that you all as farmers coming to me as your senator, and we using that chain to finally have the voices of Yadkin County heard as far away as the White House in D.C. A few personal notes I'll close on. I am the only candidate in this race that has refused to take any PAC money. I've also refused to take the state pension, and yes, folks, you are paying for a legislative pension for anybody that's on the NCGA. Like, I believe that anybody who does public service should not be taking funds from taxpayers for their retirement. I pray and I urge for your support. Vote AJ. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you elect me, I guarantee you, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce legislation to bring teachers' advanced degree payback. I'm going to introduce legislation to bring back teachers' career status. I'm going to introduce legislation to bring back teacher retirements that they took away. We're losing teachers. We're losing teachers. I'm also going to ask the state attorney general to investigate the I-77 toll road project in more detail. I plan on lowering your taxes, but I'm not going to do it in a sneaky way. I'm not going to say we're going to do away with state income tax, and everybody says, ooh, that's great. Well, who's going to pay for our state services? So they're going to get the money somewhere. Don't be fooled by those political things that say, we're going to reduce taxes, but they're going to get you somewhere else. I will not let that happen. I will scream from the high floor and say, no, this is wrong, because I am a common sense person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Mr. Miller.
Thank you so very much for the opportunity to come out this evening and have a conversation with you about our values. Right now, we are faced with a monumental decision. And our choice is, where do we go from here? And I tell you this evening that it is our obligation as North Carolinians, as citizens, to take the North Carolina that we have, to make it better, and the one that we have, to make it stronger for the next generation. We stand this evening on the shoulders of those who come before us, while at the same time we're also positioning ourselves to hoist up the next generation. To do that, we have to invest in education. We have to make sure that we protect the Affordable Care Act, and we have to make sure that we protect you, our farmers. In doing so, it will ultimately do one thing, and that will ensure a better, brighter future for all North Carolinians. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Mr. Rucho.
It was a pleasure to be with you tonight. I'm applying for a job as your senator, and your vote will determine who you'll hire. This is an important election, and you should choose a candidate as the most qualified, the one that has the knowledge, experience, and the skill to get things done, and that is from day one, not having to wait forward 5 years. If you examine the facts, there's one candidate that actually meets those requirements, and that is Bob Rucho. My goal will be to serve the people of Yadkin and Iredell County, and I'll promise you today, there'll be no one that works harder to be your voice in Raleigh and to make sure you're heard. I ask for your vote on May 8th, and I say thank you if you will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Richmond. Ms. Sawyer.
I hope you haven't gotten a glimpse of who I am tonight, because I'm pretty sure you're going to open your mailbox and hear that I have maybe given birth to aliens. I don't know what they're going to say next. But let me tell you, I am a Republican woman. I opened up the Iredell County Republican headquarters, and I campaigned right beside the Republican Party to help get President Trump elected. I was an early adopter of Trump in the primary, and I will support him again in 2020. So what I'm asking you is to not read garbage that gets mailed to you by special interest companies to slander and slur one of your own. What I'm asking you is to stand up to dirty politics and put a little bit of truth and honesty and good, hardworking people back in Raleigh. And that's who I am. I am you. When I go to Raleigh, we go to Raleigh. Thank you, and please vote for Vicki May 8th.
Thank you, Ms. Sawyer. Mr. Dixon.
We've got a very important decision to make in the May primary, and I hope everyone will make the right decision. You've got to decide if you want your local representatives heard, or if you want Raleigh to tell us what to do. Bob Rucho has forced the fracking bill down on all of North Carolina, where no local government can stop it. Bob Rucho has put forth a bill to take the Charlotte Douglas International Airport away from Charlotte. So if he's going to take the Charlotte Airport away from Charlotte, what's he going to take away from Yadkin County? So I beg you to vote for a real president of the 34th District, not somebody that rented an apartment one day before the end of filing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stinson. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, let's give our candidates a warm round of applause. I want to thank you all for attending, and basically this concludes our Senate District 34 Candidates Forum. I want to express my sincere thanks to the candidates for taking time to come tonight and discuss topics that are important to Yadkin County, our farmers, and our rural communities. Thank you to the members of the audience for your attendance, your hospitality, and your attention. And again, the Yadkin County Farm Bureau Women's Committee invites you to join the candidates for light refreshments. So thank you to everyone, and good night.